Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting out war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to talk Conquest Last Argument of Kings because Project 8, the living world campaign and vote system that Conquest used to choose the factions that they release in the future, which is led by the community. I think this is really awesome, has had its finality and has been decided as what's happened and who that force will be, and it is the one that I was voting for myself in the Sorcerer Kings. Now, this is a really cool faction. I've got a couple of the little bits and pieces, the pictures they showed, and while we're sort of going through it all, I'll talk a little bit about the narrative and why I was so, I guess, enthralled by the Sorcerer Kings and everything. So, with that said, let's get cracking on. Let's check out the images that they shared as like some concept art. Remembering, this is all concept art. Generally what will happen in like the background this year is they'll be working to make everything, I guess, for the first half of this year finalized, put out, and then it'll all go into production, and it'll be out around February next year, probably, just like we've got the city-states coming out in February this year. And so here we have one of the first images, this really cool, I would guess like almost Ganesh, Vishnu sort of inspired model. It's definitely got that sort of Indian, Nepalese aesthetic to it, to me, with a little bit of Persian influence in there as well. I think all that sort of Eurasia and Asia sort of inspired look, which is just, it looks really, really cool. Now, the Sorcerer Kings, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit of the narrative as well. The Sorcerer Kings, their narrative really is that they are effectively the ones that ended up killing Hazalia, which was the crazed and sort of broken god of the Old Dominion. And that's pretty much where we're going. You know, these sorcerers that were powerful enough to kill a crazed god. And we've also got some cool cavalry, a couple of different designs. I guess, for me, I think this is probably, they don't exactly know where they're going with the cavalry design. Are these going to be three different types of cavalry we might see? Or is this, you know, one sort of thing? I like the wolf cavalry. I think, for me, the tiger cavalry definitely wins. I think that's something cool. Ox cavalry, you know, that's cool, but maybe it's just me in playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I know, like, you know, bovine and all that goes, like, sacred cows and all that goes hand in hand with any sort of Indian-inspired force that this certainly looks to have a little bit of inspiration from. Probably not prefer to go down the bovine route just because it just reminds me of Lumineth Realm Lords from Age of Sigmar. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think the tiger cavalry is just awesome. Like, look at that, the saber. But then again, this could be three different types of cavalry. They could have ideas for all three of these, which could be cool, if they're all different types of cavalry available to the force. We then have just some generic horse cavalry. Now, this is where I sort of think, you know, maybe they've got the three ideas for some other cavalry. And this would probably be, you know, your main cavalry. You'd have horses as your base cavalry. The infantry looks really cool, like, that's going more Persian aesthetic there to me, though definitely still a little bit Indian inspired as well, with the sort of shield and weapon. It definitely looks like some of the more ancient Indian soldiery and stuff like that, but a little bit of Persian inspired too. But then they have similar sort of looks in some things, but pretty cool. Like, I really dig it. I'll dig the sabers and all of that for it. But really, this is the thing we're all here for, and that is the giant war elephant. I mean, this is just sweet. The only other, like, giant war elephant, obviously, I remember the Chaos War Mammoth from Forge World for Warhammer Fantasy, and, you know, for a brief time in Age of Sigmar. And a game I like called Argatoria from Spellcrow, which is a 10mm game, has some cool elephant cavalry, but this is going to be pretty sweet because that mammoth is now discontinued from Forge World, and this would be pretty sweet to see, like, especially since it's going to be like, you know, Conquest-sized monsters. This will be close to probably the size of that Chaos War Mammoth, I would say. But, you know, armored elephant, I mean, it just looks insane. The giant spikes and everything. I think there's a lot to be had with this. This could be really cool, you know, multiple kit. You could have hero variations and all that, like we've seen with the Drakes from the Dweghom, and of course the Apex Predator, but having, you know, a character. You could also, like, imagine, like, you know, multiple infantry on one of these as like a howdah, which would be really sweet. sort of like a chariot version and then a character-led version of it as well. Could be two really cool options for it. And then, well, then we sort of get, well, a Sorcerer King, or Sorcerer Queen in this case, with like a demon sort of behind us, some infernal flames and all of that. These sort of being, you know, I guess where the name of the army comes from and all of that. Like I said, all of these things should be considered early concept art. They may differ from the final product that comes out, but I really dig this. Like, I love the aesthetic. When I saw this was the piece that really sold me. These are going to be, you know, the focal points for the army, along with those giant elephants. And some really cool, unique cavalry. I think this would be a really interesting faction. For me, I like the idea of the story. The sort of fall of the Old Dominion and the sorcerers killing Azalea has been one of my favourite parts of Conquest lore, so looking quite forward to seeing what they can do with all of this. What faction did you vote for? There were two others. Maybe we'll do a video looking over the other two as well and all the little concept arts they did for them. But thought I'd talk about the Sorcerer Kings and the one that actually won. So this will be the army out next year. We're going to obviously see city-states and see the other armies that are currently out, the other 6 besides those city-states currently supported, get some stuff throughout the year. And we obviously have the new edition of Conquest coming out soon in February, which will be amazing. So let us know what you think of the Sorcerer Kings winning. Love to hear from everyone down in the comments below. And so that is the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And while you're at it, or why don't you go join our Discord server, which is linked down in the video's description, where we have a bunch of amazing members of our little community here on the internet, chatting away hobby and all other things as well. With that said, if you'd like to help support the channel as well, you can do so either by Patreon or YouTube members, or by grabbing yourself some merch, and you'll get, you know, yourself something in the process as well. The merch can also be found in links along with Patreon and YouTube members down in the video's description at Ko-fi and Teespring. As a special thank you to our Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons, Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Outer Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Bloobs, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Nicholas Conomos, and Colorblind Magic, and to our YouTube members Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, Davis Wire, James South, and James Tillman. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Weeks Fox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to everyone who helps and comes and makes the battle reports possible on the channel, along with all our moderators on both the YouTube and the Discord server. Thank you all once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.